Can I tell you what's been on my mind? Sick and tired of the 9 to 5 in the city life. Hey darling, we could get out of town.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Farm and Pastor's Wife. I'm so glad you're here. My name's Leslie and you're in my kitchen down on the farm, and you are here when I am prepping, getting ready to go on a pretty big vacation. Me, my husband, my daughter, my son-in-law, my grandchildren, all 3 grandboys, my son and his girlfriend, we're all going to Disney. And every time we go on vacation, doesn't matter where it's to, I make a batch of trash, and I make it one batch at a time, and I make a bunch of batches. And so I'm going to try it a different way. People have been trying to get me to do this, and I've never done it, or I don't think I've ever done it. I don't remember ever doing it, but we're going to be making it in our big roaster. Now, I realize not everybody has a big roaster, but if you do any kind of entertaining for a family or whatever, like if you wanted to make a big batch of soup, these things are wonderful and they are absolutely worth the investment. So I've washed out, I always, even though it's clean when I put it up, I always wash it out again just to get any dust particles out. And I'm just going to dry it off. I've already washed it out. I'm going to dry it off and we'll get started. And I'll bring you back just as soon as we get started. Okay, so I have a predicament. I make a big batch because I want it to last us the whole time. So I was actually going to make 2 roasters full. And I'm only going to be able to make 1 today. And I was going to make them 2 different ways. Still in the roaster, but I was going to coat them 2 different ways. So I'll have to do 1 tomorrow. So you're actually going to have this on 2 videos, just 2 different ways of doing it. Or I might get up early enough in the morning to add it onto this video. In fact, I probably will. So what we're going to do is I've got it set on 250. This is the way I saw it done. And they just did all the seasoning down in the bottom. And then they poured the cereal over it and stirred it up. So we're going to try that this way. The other way I want to try it is go ahead and put the cereal in here, mix that all up, and then melt in a mixing bowl the seasoning and pour over it and stir it. I think I'm going to like that way better. But hey, we're going to try it this way. We're going to do it the way I saw it done. And it calls for 1.5 cups of butter, which for me is 3 sticks. So I'm putting in 3 sticks of butter in here, and I'm going to let that melt. And while that's melting, I'm going to get out everything else I need. My measuring cups, my measuring spoons, all that good stuff. We're going to get all that out while this is melting. I'm going to put the lid on and just let the butter melt down in this 250-degree roaster. If it doesn't start to melt pretty quick, which it looks like it is, it's going to melt pretty quick, I can always turn it up. Let me wipe this out, the lid. All right, I've got that in here. Here, let me show you. The 3 sticks of butter are in there melting, and I'm gonna get everything else out and ready. And I may go ahead and stir that up in a little measuring bowl. That way I can be sure they're all stirred together. And so yeah, I'll meet you back right here. All right, so in my measuring cup here, I have a generous 1/2 cup of Worcestershire sauce. I do like to be fairly generous with my Worcestershire sauce. And so to that, we're gonna add in 3 tablespoons of seasoning salt. And again, I'm pretty generous. I mean, I'm not gonna level it off or anything. I just kind of shake it off. And so 3 tablespoons of seasoning salt. Did I say teaspoons? Tablespoons. Tablespoons. All right, and we're going to go in with 1.5 of granulated garlic. And I'm just going to eyeball the half. And we're going to stir this up. Alright, and my roaster is set on 250 degrees, just like you would in the oven if you were baking this in the oven. I had some dry garlic on my spoon. You want to get it stirred up really good. Now, you don't have to measure this in here. In fact, the lady I watched, she just poured everything one at a time in the roaster. But I'm so used to mixing my stuff. I'm actually used to pouring it over the cereal. But that's not what she did. So we're going to try it this way, and then I'll kind of do it the way I want to on the next batch. But I got to go get more butter. I don't have enough butter. I thought I had plenty of butter. I always have plenty of butter, but not today. Okay, let's see how our butter is doing. It's melting down. It's not there yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open up my cereals. Now these are 12-ounce boxes, and I use a box of the corn. Oh, that was rice. A box of the rice, a box of the corn, a box of the wheat, and if I had a 12-ounce box of Cheerios, we would do that, but I have a really big box, so I think we're going to use like half in each batch of the Cheerios. Now, one whole box of these goes in here. So I've got those open and ready. I'm going to get me a utensil to stir this with. Get this turned around so you guys can see. We'll check the butter again. I'm going to slide it around so hopefully it'll melt a little bit more. And I'm going to get one of these. I'm going to get y'all stirring around so you can melt. Melt, baby, melt. All right. So we'll be back in just a little bit as soon as all my butter is melted down. I'll see you back in a second. Okay, everyone, so while on camera, I'm going to use a silicone spatula just so y'all don't have to hear any weird scraping sounds. But I will say off camera, I'm probably going to use the wooden thing to stir better. So to our butter, I'm going to pour our Worcestershire sauce. Goodness, and I'm gonna scrape because I want it all in there. I like a heavy seasoned party mix. We call it trash, so if I say trash, just so you know, that's what we call it. And it's just what we'll always call it. But just so you know what I'm talking about when I say trash, I'm talking about party mix. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of stir that up with the butter really good. And we're just going to pour in a whole box of each, including the crumbs. Them crumbs are just as delicious as everything else. Whoops, except you don't want the bag to go in. And I didn't have my Cheerios open. And like I said, we're going to go in with half a bag of Cheerios just because this is a big box. There we go. Now, I want to stir all this up and I want to coat it well with the butter, the Worcestershire sauce. I want to get everything coated and stirred. I know this is probably loud. My microphone picks up really good sometimes, and I apologize if it's too loud. But I'm wanting to stir because look, you know, I want all that seasoning distributed. Touch the side of it. It scared me. It didn't burn. I was just afraid it was going to. And I jumped. All right. So I'm going to keep stirring, getting this seasoning mixed in well. Going to the bottom, lifting up to the top. And so I'm going to keep doing this, making sure everything is coated well with that delicious seasoning. See, look, I got big chunks of it, big wet places. So we want to keep stirring till everything looks damp but not soaking wet. And if you've got any dry areas, kind of go down. You may not be getting all the way to the bottom. See, look, I just brought up a bunch of moist stuff right there. All right, so you're going to treat this roaster just like you would doing it in the oven, one batch at a time. It's going to stay on 250. I'm going to let it cook for 15 minutes. At 15 minutes, I come stir it. I let it go another 15 minutes and I come stir it. Now y'all will probably laugh at me on how I keep up with my time because, you know, I mean, I set the Alexa, I set her for every 15 minutes, but how do I know how many, like, I lose count of how many times I've done 15 minutes. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna show you how I keep up with that. All right, I think everything is coated well now. And I'm gonna put the lid on. I'm gonna set our timer for 15 minutes and I'll bring you back and I'll show you how I keep up with the time that I have cooked this batch of trash. So, all right, it's going in for 15 minutes. We'll come back, we'll stir it, and I'll see you in a little bit. Okay, so the first 15 minutes are up. So how I kept up with how many 15-minute increments I've done, because you do it for an hour. And I used to use Splenda packs. So I would bring a Splenda pack out at the first 15 minutes. Then I would get a second Splenda pack and bring it out at the second minutes. But I had a sweet viewer send me this cute little set, and it's a Charlie Brown set. And so I bring out, I'll start with Lucy. And so my first 15 minutes is up, and so let's give it a stir. Mr. Benji's coming in here. I can hear his little patter of his hands and knees. And you want to get down in the bottom. You want to stir this, so you've got to really stir it good. A lot better than you stir it in the oven because it's a lot deeper. Oh my goodness. This smells so good. I cannot wait. So good. All right. So the first stirring has been done. He's pulling up on my pant legs. He's got to where he can pull up. He's going to be walking before long. Won't be long. All right. So we'll set it for another 15 minutes. We'll see another Charlie Brown Peanuts character. And yep, we'll be back in a little bit. All right, our second 15 minutes is up. Let me grab, I don't know his name. What's his name? Okay, so that means it's been 30 minutes total because I've got two Peanuts characters over here. And we're gonna stir again. Oh, this smells so good. And if I can get this done earlier just by using this roaster, this is going to be a game changer for sure for me. All right, and I forgot Bryant is going to town in a little bit, so he can get my butter. I don't know that I'll have time to do it before we go to church tonight. Tonight's Wednesday, so we will see. All right, so we're setting the timer for another 15 minutes. I'll see you back in a second. All right, it has been 45 minutes. Let me get my other Peanuts character, and it is Charlie Brown, I do believe, in his bathing suit. So, all right, we are stirring again. And I'm actually going to leave the lid off this 15 minutes. We're going to let some of that heat escape. I'm not even sure if I was supposed to be putting the lid on. I'll need to go back and look. But I'm going to leave it off this time. And we're going to go another 15 minutes. I'll see you back. Okay, update time. Y'all, I'm not a fan of doing it this way. I'm not. The idea of it, I love, because you can get so much more done at one time, and you only have to do it the one time. Now, I think because I had the lid on it, and everything I read said to do it with the lid on. I went and looked, and everything said to do it with the lid on. But because of the lid on, it retained a little bit of moisture, so that it's a little bit chewy. Although, it is starting to get a crunch. But, I turned it up a little, which was a mistake. Trying to dry it out, and I took the lid off. Benji's at my feet. I burnt a few. Not many, but enough that it might affect the flavor. So, I'm not going to waste this. It's really good. I'm definitely not going to waste it. I'm going to take it anyway. But the second half of the party mix I make, I'm going to make it my own way. So, I can get one. Uh-oh. What happened? Come here. Come here. I'm going to go back to my old way. And we're going to make it my old way. Look, Benji. Hey, Benji. Looky here. Benji. I see Benji. I see Benji. He just sees my hand. Anyway. I'm just going to do it the old way and take this and suffer through it. No, it's really not that bad, except I did burn a few. But I burn them trying to dry it out and let them not be quite so chewy. But it did, once I cut it off, it did start to crisp up a little bit. So, anyway. I'm going to make the rest my old school way. You've seen that 100 times. So, I'll bring you back if we do anything else other than make party mix. Well, everyone, it is the next day. So, I'm going to give you my thoughts on the cooking the party mix in the roaster. I think that is an ingenious way to do it, because you can do boxes of cereal, get it all done at once, and not have to keep doing batch after batch after batch. However, I had a little difficulty. And let me tell you what my difficulty was. It left pockets of chewiness. Like wet places, even though I stirred it multiple times, that I stirred it well. I think, you know, I thought maybe the fact that I left the lid on, there was some condensation that maybe was getting down in there. So then I started reading, should I take the lid off? And they said no, because then it won't retain the heat to bake the cereal and so forth. So give me your thoughts. Have you ever done it in the roaster? Do you do it the lid on, the lid off? What I did was I actually cranked it up to 300 and left it in another 15 minutes. I did get some a little toasty brown around the edges, you know, where it gets hot, but that didn't bother anything. But there still was some chewy spots. Now, I will say the longer it sat after I was done, the crispier it got. But I just instead of doing another batch in the roaster, I just reverted back to my old standby. I guess I'm one of those people who gets set in their ways, you know, which is not a good thing. Let me just put that out there right now. Don't ever get set in your ways. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways, and sometimes, you know, that's just what's easiest and what's best. But then sometimes you may be missing out on a great tip, like making banana pudding. I could stay with the old way, making it on the stovetop, which was a pain. But I've learned to make it in the microwave, and that is a game changer. That's a game changer. Now, I still bake it in the oven, but I'm talking about making the custard. You can do it in the microwave, and it's like so easy. And so sometimes getting stuck in your ways is a good thing, and sometimes you may be missing out on something good. So y'all help me. I wanted to find out I was missing out on something good, but it didn't work out for me this time. But I'm not opposed to trying it again if y'all tell me what I did wrong. I stirred it well every time, so it had nothing to do with stirring. I stirred it every 15 minutes, had nothing to do with the time. I don't know. I don't know what it had to do with. But y'all let me know how you do it if you do it in the big roasters. Now, someone did tell me they could do it in the microwave, and that changed their world. My microwave, I don't think, will hold my batch of trash. I don't think. And so I didn't try it in the microwave, but I'm not opposed to trying it in the microwave as well. Hey, and one of my friends, they make delicious party mix. And do you know what they make it with instead of butter? Bacon grease. And oh my goodness, it is wonderful. But I don't ever have that much bacon grease handy. So anyway, so let me show you. I made 2 regular batches in the oven, and I've spooned up one, and I'm fixing to spoon up the other. There it is. And I'll be finding Cheerios on the floor and on my stove for days. But there's last night's batch. Bryant's been in it. Well, no, I took the lid off so I could start spooning it in. I was going to blame Bryant. Did y'all hear that? I was going to blame him for something I did. And here's some of the roaster. And there's some more of the roaster pack. So we're going to have plenty of party mix to share over the next week. So, yeah. So I'll bring you back with whatever I start doing next. And I could have made this fit in that container, but you know, why push the limits? This makes a pretty good little breakfast anyway. So, yeah, I'm enjoying some party mix in between cleaning and packing and all the stuff I have to do today. All right, well, I just washed up the cooler and have it drying, and I've laid out, I had stuck these in the freezer just to keep them fresh. So I've laid those out because I was about to forget them. I did stop by Ulta one more time, and I picked up some, I'm out of all my perfume, so I just picked up some like little body spray, good smelly stuff here. And had my car detailed. And let me sit down and I'll tell you what we're going to do to finish up the day. and I'll come back and say goodbye in just a second. All right, one last errand before we end this video. We're taking the boys to get their, they've scrounged up change around the house, and they have been saving it for,
6-8 months.
6-8 months. They've been saving these change that they find. We let them, if they find change laying around, they get to put it in a jar. Well, we've emptied the jar, and we're carrying the boys to the bank to turn the money in and see how much spending money they each will have at Disney. So
it's not just change that they scrounged up, it's change that I take out of my pocket.
like, yeah, his pocket change, and if he lays it down, he'll give it to him or whatnot. So Judah's waving. Get your seatbelt on right, please. We just pulled out of the farm. So anyway, all right, we are headed to the bank. So I'm going to end today's video here. I'm going to say goodbye, but we're going to pick right up where we leave off tomorrow. And we'll see you on this exciting, fun adventure. And remember, the grease is hot enough. You can fry anything. Bye, y'all.